Welcome once again to Ireland, where it's raining and wet and green and lush, and water will always be in a plentiful supply. And aren't we grateful for that? Yes, they are still block laying. It looks like they've got a method that works and they're gaining a little bit of pace, but I think they're finding it a bit tedious and their arms are aching. Let's hope it's not going to be too much longer before they're finished. You can see how it takes a long time when you're having to shape the blocks, and that has to be done over and over again.
We are halfway through day 6 of building the internal walls, and I must admit we had a bit of a flap this morning. The blocks, we sort of double checked really, but some of the blocks are got a little twist in them, or they're wider at one end than the other, and unfortunately we were sort of trying to average everything out, and then I've decided now the best way to do it is just build to one face. So we've decided on a face for each wall, and we're going to work to square on that face. Seems to make more sense, and it seems to be working well, so hopefully we won't get in that situation again. We only crept out a couple of millimetres here and there. I suppose in the grand scheme of things it's not the end of the world, but it is nice just to try and get everything to where you want it to be. So we won't be making that mistake again, and we're up and running.
Now, I found some footage from about a month ago where I talk about paint colours in the natural palette. None of us remember it being in a video, so I'm going to slot it in now. Just don't be fooled, I'm not in Ireland, this was recorded previously. As I'm approaching this spruce, this Sitka spruce I think it is, you see all those different textures. Oh, just look here, can you see the sort of bronziness? All of these colours are colours that I will be choosing in my mood board for the... Oh, look at that, look how lovely and light and green that is. Beautiful pop of limey green, and even on the leaves there, see, just beautiful. Sometimes it's almost dark brown, really deep shades and textures, and I'm going to have all of this in my green room. Really, I just want the sort of colours and textures that are outside, so you're kind of getting an echo of the outside indoors, and that's why it's green. I just call it the green room. Gonna have fun with it, but just layer all those colours. And what I realised is when I'm drawn to colours, when I'm looking at colour charts like the Little Green Paint Company and choosing the colours that I like, they are usually ones that can be found. It's almost unconscious. Oh, look at the little butterflies. Usually can be found in the natural palette. Even the moody greys, you see, nice. And yeah, so I'll show you what I mean as I start putting things together. That's what I can do from the UK. It's our last day here. I'll be leaving tomorrow, and just getting on with some of those things because it won't be that far off. We are choosing kitchen units, having to think about the type of the style of the fitted kitchen that we want, and we're coming up. We've got the end of September. We get 13 months on the grant, and end of September is our deadline, so you have to get your kitchen, you have to have a working kitchen then. And we're just looking. I mean, Noel doesn't want to just put any old sort of kitchen in and then have to rip it all out and start again. If it can be helped, you might as well try and get the one in that you want and build on that, So that's the plan. And again, going for natural wood type, not shaker style, more modern, more sort of, I think that I quite like the ones where you don't even have doorknobs. You know what I mean? Not handles and knobs on the doors, they're just flat. You push them and then they open. Quite like that. Just have it a lot more modular as well. Choosing a kitchen that works where you want things to be for ease of use. I can't really show. I'm talking about it now without being able to demonstrate, but that's the plan. Now the boys have been trying the drone out because the last time we used the drone it was pretty rubbish, and it shouldn't be rubbish because it wasn't a cheap drone, but I don't know if it's because we didn't have it on the right settings, whether it's because we didn't have Wi-Fi. We'll go and see how they've done and if they've got any good footage. So no, that didn't work then. Maybe we're just not very good at flying it. Let us know in the comments if you've got any idea why it's going so badly wrong.
It's day 8 already, and we're back into the bunker. Try and get some more height on these walls. We'll probably need to get a platform in, some scaffolding in at some stage today. Just getting to that stage now where they're a bit too high to be lifting up, but that's a good sign, I think. So day 8, and we're just going to carry on.
It's quite funny because last time the builders merchants delivered the blocks, they put them near the garage, so the boys had to just keep carrying them quite a long way to the house for where they needed them. So he asked him this time if he could get them as near to the house as possible, and it's just quite funny how much he wants to do that well. His attention to detail. You think he's going to put it down, and then he stops, and then he edges it a little bit nearer again. It's really quite sweet. That's customer service for you.
It's the start of day 9. We've had a good clear up on the floor and set the scaffold tower up. It's just getting to the height now where we need the scaffold tower, thankfully. So we're what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, nearly 7 blocks up throughout. I think we've 9 blocks to door height, and then just the infill above there. So once the lintels are in, I'll feel a lot happier. A lot of these skinny walls just sort of standing there, but they'll be nice and firm. So there we are, day 9. Bring it on.
The wall is now almost as tall as Sid. So the rule of thumb seems to be, whatever the weather, it won't stay that way for long. back on the coffee. I hope you've had a good week. I've had a much better week and I'm feeling much better, thank you. Noel bought me this one on Christmas because he knows I love my coffee. Thank you for your well wishes, by the way, you're so kind. I remember one time Noel had this tummy bug. It was when we were doing up a house, or he was doing up the house, really, he did all the work. A house that was 8 bed sits, and the tenants were terrible. They never paid their rent, they were rude, they didn't look after the property, and it just was like a money pit. We were just spending so much money, more than we were getting in. So we just told them all to leave and moved in. For the first year or so, we lived on the top floor. I'd like a little flat up there. And Noel gradually did all these rooms up. Anyway, it was grim. And he got this tummy bug while he was doing it. And he had a flask of coffee. And I think that the association between coffee and just not feeling well, and it's smelling so bad, the place, and it being a negative experience, put him off coffee. And that was about 16 years ago. He's never had it again since, never had a drink of coffee, just doesn't want it. And I thought, I hope that doesn't affect me in that way, because it's one of the few pleasures I have in life. But no, I'm on the coffee. Hope you've got yours too, so we can have a little chat. What's been happening this week? There is something to tell you that's quite interesting. That Sid was overhearing me telling Noel that I wasn't well in the middle of the night. This is, a week ago now. It seems ages ago, but it was only about just over a week ago. And he said, that's really weird, because he had this dream. And in his dream, he was in a public space being sick. I mean, how often do you dream about vomiting? I don't think I've ever in my life had a dream about being sick. I said, that's because we've got a very special connection, Sid. You must have been somehow empathising with me at some deeper subconscious level. You're picking up on my suffering. It made me think back. Oh, that's right, because Sid said he'd been having much more vivid dreams since being in Ireland, which is so interesting. And I said to him, well, that's because Ireland is a thin place. He said, what do you mean thin? What's that all about? And so I told him to look it up. But there is a name for it. I don't know the name. It's to do with where the veil is, the veil between this life and the next, how people usually, or usually think of it, although I don't think it's time linear. I think it's to do with one dimension and another dimension. I'm starting to get a bit weird now. To do with what's veiled from us, like filtered out, that we're not aware of, extrasensory perception and all of that. And so people do have dreams and visions and feel more attuned to nature and the supernatural as well. And that's why you get all stories in Ireland about fairies and, earth spirits and things like that, earth energies, and it's just, there's something in it. So if you are Gaelic speaking, you might know the word. I don't know the word. I've heard it, but I can't remember it. That means a thin place. And maybe if you live in Ireland, or you are Irish, or you've had some sort of experience of that, let us know in the comments. We'd like to hear these sort of stories. It's where it all gets a bit interesting. I should say, if you're only here for the DIY, you might want to skip this bit, because I just love talking about all of this. It reminded me of a video I made a little bit a while ago. I just found it actually today. And any of you who want to go and look at it, it's episode, I've got it here up, it's just on YouTube. It's on YouTube. Why did you even say that it's on YouTube? Because it's on YouTube. The video is episode 29, and it's entitled A Priest, a Dream and a Change of Plan. And there's a little bit around about 10 minutes in where I talk about my vision. And then Jill has a vision, and then there's another bit, Noel has a dream. And again, these were the same night. This all happened at a time when we were having to make decisions about whether to knock the house down. That's what we were being advised by the structural engineer. It'd just be easier to knock it down, it'd be cheaper for you. You're going to have to underpin it, it's going to cost a lot. And so we just didn't know what to do. And the thought occurred to me, ask the house. Just ask, what does the house want? And so I did. I was sitting quietly one morning and just put the thought out there. What is right for the house? And I had this vision, and I talk about the vision in this video, episode 29. I'll put the link at the end if you haven't seen it. A lot of the video is me talking and explaining all of this. But what's interesting is that at the very same time, Noel was waking up from a dream. And so we both had this inspiration that gave us a way ahead. And it gave us a solution that seemed to come from the house itself. And as it turned out, it was as if the house was speaking to us, because it was telling us about this door that we didn't even know that was there. And when Noel went back and started peeling off and chipping off the plaster, he found this door that ended up being this new corridor that we've got connecting the two. So there was a change of plan about the actual layout and how it would all work, and it's ended up being just perfect. So the house had a solution. And why am I mentioning this? Because it is about listening to the house and being in tune with the spirit of the house. And I don't just mean the spirit of the house itself, it's like a kind of guardian energy spirit of the place. I know that when we moved to Cornwall, I started to become more sensitive to stuff like this. That may be just because we weren't as busy. You know, and I was a teacher, Noel was working in the film industry, and we were like 14-hour days, longer sometimes, just really never having time to be still and quiet and listen. So I think maybe everything slowed down a little bit. And it could have been to do with being in Cornwall, because that also is a sort of Celtic place, and some people would say that's a thin place. But I think that even more so, I don't know what's going to happen when you take me and drop me in Ireland. I think it'll be like woo-woo on steroids. But bring it on, I love it. It's wonderful in the true sense of the word, wonderful, full of wonder, awe and wonder, because there is so much more to life. There is more going on. What's lovely is that Sid said it was the length of time he's been there. They've been there now about 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks maybe, something like that. And he'd never been there that long before. I've never been in Ireland for longer than 3 weeks. I think this time I took 3 weeks off, but I've never been there for over a month, say, and it is as though perhaps with the length of time that you're spending in that space that it starts to just seep into your bones. You just become a little bit more attuned to the place, perhaps, and the energies of the place. Anyway, I am really now starting to sound a little bit weird, and I realise that it's not for everyone, this, but it's so interesting because it is relevant. It has shaped the way that the build has gone, the project has developed. And perhaps if you looked at what we're actually doing now, we've got a very modern extension. Yes, we've cladded the whole interior with this plastic stuff. So it could seem as though we're not doing things in a very natural or sensitive way, but it really isn't about that. It's about listening to what is right for the house and what will work for us, and having this sort of cooperation with it. It'll be interesting to see how it all develops as we start living there, and I think it's just going to get better and better.
Bit rainy here this morning, wet weather's setting in a little bit, and the temperature's dropping in the evenings and the mornings, but it's still workable. We can still get stuff done. People have been asking what we intend to do with our internal walls, whether we're going to lime plaster or we're going to use some different coating, and how we're going to insulate the house. So we had two options. One was to insulate the outside of the house, and one was to insulate the inside of the house to get it up to some sort of BER regs. The problem with this house, probably a lot of these old Irish houses, is there's no damp-proof membrane in the foundation of the house. So there'll always be some moisture coming up out of the ground. We are having French drains around the circumference of the house to drain some of that water away, but there'll always be something. So we thought an external insulation would seal the house on the outside, so any vapour or moisture coming up out of the ground could only come into the house. So in order to negate that, we decided to tank the inside of the walls with eco mesh and insulate internally. And eco-mesh is like a plastic barrier with a mesh in there, and it also has these, comes on a roll, and it has these little dimples I think you see on the back, which act as an air gap against the stonework, so it allows any moisture that wants to come this way to form on the back of the eco-mesh and to run down the eco-mesh. As I say, it goes down below the subfloor and into the ground beneath, so any moisture can come this way and will fall down that way. And onto this we can dot and dab a sheet of 82mm thick, so that's 75mm of PIR insulation and 12.5mm of plasterboard, I think it's just like normal plasterboard you get in any house. And onto that we can just put a multi-finish skim and paint. There will be a few maybe studs in there just so we can fix things. If we remember where they are, we can fix certain things to the walls, because we have certain ideas about what we want to do with this wall, which requires us the ability to fix on. Obviously you can fix straight through back into the wall, but every time you put a fixing in there you're going to puncture the eco-mesh, so then you have to try and ensure that hole is sealed up. So you either have to pump a lot of foam in there, or you have to pump a lot of silicone in there, and you never put, behind 82mm you're never guaranteed that you're going to find that hole and fully seal it. So the less mechanical fixing you can do to the wall, the better. So that's the method we're using, and it seems to work, and it's the least intrusive into the house. It's not going to take up a great deal of space. We're not losing a lot of internal space by building a stud frame and then having an air gap and then putting insulation in. So I hope that's clear, and we better crack on with some work.
Bless them, I think they are struggling a little bit now, lifting those heavy blocks all day long. I just wish I could be there to be taking them cups of tea and generally just building their morale. But they at least have each other, and this time next week, hopefully, that part of the build will be complete. As always, thank you for watching. Please do leave a comment. Have a good week, and I'll see you next time.